Boy, this is gonna be a fun one today, guys. It all started with a Facebook post. I saw it, I watched it, and I went, interesting. Back when I was competing at heavy clip, everyone had moved to 6mm cartridges. That is pretty consistent still to this day. Okay, they moved to a heavier weighted gun and a lighter recoiling cartridge to stay on target better. However, advancements, especially in the bullet realm, have gotten so good that in some situations, guys are going back to running 6.5, specifically 6.5 Creed. Why? Because you can run the 153 grain A-tip that has over a 700 G1 BC, which is freaking insane. Here's the challenge. If you're shooting at a range that has a ton of wind and you're wanting that higher BC, in theory, when you're prone, you can shoot, boom, and the bullet takes a lot longer to get there than it does with the 6mm, and you're back on target in time to see what's happening downrange and make your adjustments. However, off Barricade, that gets really difficult really quickly because you're trading a higher BC, better prone cartridge, in theory, for a higher, lower recoiling cartridge off Barricades. I may have the fix for that. That's what we're gonna test today, is how do we kill recoil in a 6.5 Creedmoor? Is it possible? Let's check it out. Okay, so as we know, you can lessen and dampen recoil by really a couple things. You can either add a ton of weight to your stock, which a lot of guys do, or you can run a lower recoiling round cartridge like a 6mm. I'm not gonna do either of those things. The video that I saw that drew me to this was with a 15.5 pound 6.5 Creedmoor, and it was showing recoil off it versus a traditional suppressor. I thought that was dope. However, with this barrel counter, I literally do not have a stock that will meet that need. So I'm gonna do, plus in my opinion, it makes more sense to run an actual comp rig. So this is an 18-pound gun right here, as you see it, okay? 18 pounds. So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna test some of the top new tech in recoil mitigation. The last couple of years of my serious competitive days, I ran the Area 419 Maverick. This thing absolutely works for me, crushes, destroys recoil, especially out of my 6mm. But recently, Thunderbeast came out with two suppressors. When I first saw them, I thought, that looks a lot like my Maverick. However, the end cap is fixed, and what I was hearing is that from a sound protection perspective, two of these cans could be run without ears. That's what we're gonna test out today. One, how much recoil reduction do we get from both of them? But two, is one of them hearing safe? Now the third one, the largest one, all in, that can's like 11 inches, okay? In my opinion, from a competitive perspective, that doesn't make any sense for me. So I'm not gonna test that one. But what I am gonna test is the new SRR and the KRR. RR stands for recoil reduction, I believe. So we're gonna test these out, see if they're hearing safe or not, and see how much they do or don't mitigate recoil. We're gonna compare that to the Area 419 Maverick. And we're gonna start the whole thing off with the good old Thunderbeast Magnus. This thing, in my opinion, has the best sound suppression of any 308 can on the market right now. I mean, it's absolutely fantastic. Thunderbeast tested it, had a third party test it, and they make claims that it actually is the quietest. Again, I've run a lot of cans against it. I like a lot of different cans, but this can is absolutely silent to the core. So we're gonna start with this, watch recoil, see what happens, and then kind of move our way down the deck. And then lastly, I came across this little device called the Chad. This is from a company called Strike Without Warning. BJ DeGroot is the guy's name. Awesome dude. Came out with some tech that had a barrel tuner on the back end of the muzzle brake. Well, what he's done is he's kind of developed that out even more fully, and he's added it to the front end. So I'm really excited. I've seen this being used in competition, and I thought, holy cow, that is the brake of all brakes. And so I want to test that as well. So we're going to go the full gamut today. We're going to test it at 574 yards off Barricade. I'm going to do a low shooting position and a high shooting position so we can really get a good comparison. And then I'm going to show you literally side by side. We're just going to stack up the results. I'm also going to ask the guys that are here helping me film what they thought from a hearing perspective. Is the new SRR hearing safe in their opinion? We know the Maverick isn't, but we know how well the Maverick does on recoil. So I just want to kind of measure the trade-off and thought you guys might enjoy seeing the results of that in that video as well. Before anything else, let's go through the build really quickly because I know you're going to ask. This is a Manners TCS, blue and black, okay? In it, we have the brand new Impact Precision 707 round top, son. The round top, baby. Super excited about this. Really excited to test this thing out. Did direct mount Hawkins rings on top of that. Threw the 5x25 in there, and we're off and running. Really excited to see how that performs. It's got the 75-degree bolt throw as well, which I am loving in all my other impact actions. So really enjoying that. A lot of guys wonder why a lot of these top tier shooters have gone to pre-cut barrels. I tell you very simply, Impact Precision. Years ago, Impact changed everything because they started producing actions with such tight tolerances that the owner literally was, and still to this day, is checking every single action that goes out that door to perfection. And so in doing so, guys didn't have to send their actions in anymore, didn't have to go through that. They could buy pre-cut barrels from Smith's. Well, they've just changed it again. They just dropped the new round top action, which is gonna come out at $980. $980, guys. For less than $1,000, you can join the custom action game and buy a pre-cut, snap it on, and be banging. The number one reason I hear guys not moving into custom actions typically is price. I just can't afford it. Well, that argument's over. To the barrel, H&W. I have never shot their stuff, but I had heard that name passed around at the local one-day competitions. I saw it up and down the firing line. Finally, I got to meet Brad Wiley. Brad and I were talking. I was like, man, you've had a lot of success. Congrats, blah, blah, blah. He's like, hey, I just want you to try a barrel out. Try one of my barrels. He's like, I'll send it to you. If it shoots, keep it. If it don't, throw it in the trash. So I picked this barrel up at 9 o'clock last night. We're gonna find out. 6.5 Creedmoor 26-inch barrel. We'll see if she shoots or not. If she does, I may have to give him a thumbs up, but I have heard enough about him from the other guys competing right now at a very high level that he's cutting some really good barrels. So we'll see. I'm excited. And then last but not least, guys, CRB, custom rifle barrels. So excited. Good friend of mine, Austin Orgain, two-time Golden Bullet winner, national champion, bought a barrel company that had a very reputable and known name. He came in, he made some changes, tweaked it to national championship level status, and then he hired a two-time world champion, Austin Bushman. So Austin Orgain and Austin Bushman are out there cranking out literally top tier barrels. Guys, I'm so excited. This is the first time I feature one of their barrels on the channel. You will be seeing a lot more of them. These guys know what it takes literally to be a world champ, and they're producing quality barrels that match that sort of pedigree. So I'm really excited to see that. And then, like I said, lastly, 5x25 Collis on top, trigger cam, get it rolling, baby. Let's freaking run. Time to compare some recoil. Guys, this Barricade that we're running off of is insanely thin, okay? Like literally about from the bend of my finger to kind of the bend to here, probably 2 inches by 2 inches. It is insanely thin. So we're specifically doing this test off of a Barricade like this to truly show like the most extreme situations. Most situations, even your PRS Barricades, are 4x4 typically. So really small, thin Barricade, which should give us really good results to show in worst case scenario what sort of recoil we're gonna face. We're gonna start the test with the old Thunderbeast Magnus. This is an incredible can. Obviously I don't need ears. Let's check recoil at 574 yards with factory 140s. Dude, there's potentially basically no zero change. Putting a lot of shoulder in it there. Not a ton of recoil, but I am putting way more shoulder in. Normally I kind of free float Barricade, so we'll do some of that test later. Actually, I'm gonna send one with like a normal free float. Here you go. You can see the difference there. All right, here we go. Magnus, 574 yards, factory 140s. I'm gonna put quite a bit of shoulder in it. Here's one with no shoulder. Magnus, super nice on the ears. Okay, Thunderbeast SRR. This is the one I was honestly most interested in seeing. I'm gonna try it without plugs to start. We'll see how that goes. The things I do for you, the YouTubes. 574 yards, factory loads. Thunderbeast SRR. Huh. I'm gonna free float this one, no shoulder. Thunderbeast SRR, these are literally the first 5 rounds fired out of this can. So I'm sure that probably has something to do with it. Got a little first round pop in my left ear. Past that though, I mean, it was, I wouldn't want to do it under an overhang or like a cover of any sort. But the sound was not bad. If anything, I'd probably wear something in my left ear and leave my right ear open, especially if you were doing like NRL Hunter, and that's was kind of the intention of using this can. So recoil reduction seemed really good too. Okay, here we go. Thunderbeast SRR. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna put no shoulder in this one. I'm gonna free float this one. All right, guys. Now we have Thunderbeast KRR. So this is a smaller version. Again, I would liken this more to like the Area 419 Maverick in size. I'm gonna wear ears. I don't think this is intended to be hearing safe, but really curious to see the recoil downrange at 574 yards. All right, I'm gonna free float this one, no shoulder. Free float. Thunderbeast KRR. You good? All right, I'm gonna free float this one, no shoulder, free float. Okay, Thunderbeast KRR. All right, guys, Daddy's old trusty Area 419 Maverick. This is configured in the 5-inch setup, which is what they always recommended for competition. You can do the longer one and probably get closer to hearing safe, but for comp and pure recoil reduction, this is my go-to. All right, guys, Maverick factory loads, 574 yards. And here's one free floated with no shoulder in it. Oh, she nice. Maverick, Area 419. So hot right now. 140 grain factory loads. Put the ears in. Gonna take it to 574 yards. Here, I'm gonna do one free floated with no shoulder in it. Maverick. All right, guys, here we go. 6.5 Creed factory Hornady 140 grain ELD match with the Chad. 574 yards, factory ammo. Dude, this barrel is freaking stacking a group down there. The Chad. That old barrel is stacking them. The other thing I do want to note, H&W won me over today. That barrel was stacking literally all day long. First rounds I'd ever put down it. We probably shot 80 rounds a day, something like that, 90 maybe. And it just stacked a group. I literally didn't even, I adjusted like 1 or 2 tenths between all those different tests. I didn't change my zero at all. It was, on some of them, man, it was putting them in a freaking hole. So H&W, I checked those guys out for sure. His turnaround time, he got that thing to me really darn quick. Comparatively, a lot of times you're waiting 8 months, 12 months on stuff like that. He turned it around really quick. And so thank you, Brad Wiley. Appreciate it, man. You built a tack driver here. Check out H&W, guys. Really cool. We've had days to digest. I've actually punched the data. I've gone frame by frame and measured the variance of recoil, both vertically and horizontally. So I wanted to come back on camera here and just really quickly go through what I found outside of the kind of the results and thoughts I gave from that day. First off, again, I went frame by frame, literally on every shot, editing the data. The initial recoil, especially on the Thunderbeast cans, was substantial and off camera. So that's not what I used. What I used basically was after the boom, the settle, after it came back, kind of where it settled in the shoulder. So I really, if anything, I was extra fair to Thunderbeast. And as a Thunderbeast owner, I really like their stuff. So let's start with the winner. From a recoil perspective, the winner was the Chad. All right, on average, the Chad had a variance of 1.8 MRAD elevation and 1.1 horizontally. So really exceptional. The one thing I did notice about it is specifically on the lower barricade position, the recoil was under the target, which is the only, and I think that you can see by the design, that's kind of how it plays out, but that's the only device we used that had that happen. Everything else was going above the target, so it went under. That was kind of interesting. It's an incredible product. I'd highly recommend Strike Without Warning. Check those guys out. It was really fun to shoot, really neat. Second place, snare drum please, was the Area 419 Maverick. It was a tight race between the Area 419 Maverick and the Thunderbeast K. From an elevation perspective, they were both literally exactly the same. Both averaged 2.9 mils in variance on elevation and recoil. Where the Maverick kind of took the win was in horizontal spread, whereas the KRR was 2.6. So both were really tight, pretty indistinguishable between those two. So if you're looking at either of those, you really can't go wrong. Those are both great options. The KRR took third place. Fourth place was the SRR. Now, what was interesting about that is it really wasn't that far off, guys. So again, another really great option. The elevation vertical variance was 3.1. So 2.9 on the K, 2.9 on the Maverick, 3.1 on the S. That's a really tight tolerance. So if you like that, you want a little more sound protection, great option. Interestingly enough, the K and the S both had the exact same variance on horizontal shift, which was 2.6. So 3.1 elevation, 2.6. This S and the K are very close to each other, but the sound quality is significantly better with the S, which is the longer can. Lastly was the Magnus. Guys, sound suppression quality is phenomenal. Freaking phenomenal on that thing. It's fantastic. You are gonna get more recoil. The average recoil on all 10 positions was 4.6 vertical and 3.1 horizontal. So not terrible, but again, it's a trade-off. All in all, biggest takeaway from the test, man, we are living in the golden age of precision rifle, especially recoil mitigation. 6.5s are absolutely relevant with tools like these. And I hope this test was neat. I really enjoyed doing it. It was a lot of fun. And I hope it sheds some light on the fact that you could probably run a heavier grain bullet in a higher cartridge now in the PRS and still be very competitive. So let us know what else you want to see. Really appreciate it. Like, subscribe. Till next time. See ya. Let me know in the comments, guys. Go in there, argue, fight. My wife says I spend too much time in there, and that when we get to arguing on there, both you and I need Jesus, need Jesus, need Jesus, need Jesus, and we do.